We are doing a totally unconventional time because Ellie is in Australia and do I still have my teeth? Yep. Because Ellie's in Australia and we're happy to have her join us. I also got Invisalign, you guys, like
I saw that you did that.
2 days
Yeah.
ago, and I'm struggling
Are
still to
you?
talk. Like I'm just still getting there. So if you're like, what's going on with Lacey? Let's just preface that's what's going on with Lacey is like I
It's
can't really pronounce my words.
it's a cruel joke that you just had to say struggling as well. I'm
Struggling. I
struggling
know.
to say. Hi,
It's
Beth.
real.
Thank you for having me here and for being here with me at this unconventional time. I
Yes.
appreciate it.
Okay. I am gonna wipe my little Invisalign here that I now got stuff all over, and you are gonna tell everyone a little bit about you for a second.
You never know. Hi
Okay.
everyone. So happy to be here. For those of you that don't know me, I am a business coach and mastermind mentor. I work with incredible coaches, creatives, and consultants who are building 6 and 7 figure businesses and creating scalable freedom in their business. The way I do this is primarily through my masterminds and a program that I created last year, which culminates everything that I know about masterminds called the Mastermind Model. So that is a little bit about me. I've been in business now for 6 or 7 years, depending on which day you ask me. And when I actually calculate it back to, Lace and I have worked together for 5 or 6 years, depending on when we
Yep,
check
depends. Yep.
from. And I've got an incredible business, incredible life. Personally, I've got a Bubba, my firstborn, on the way after a big 2.5 year IVF journey. So sharing those things as well, because it's nice to connect at all
Yeah.
levels.
So good. Okay, so Ellie's here because we wanted to chat about the offers that we are selling and recommending and seeing go well in 2024. We had this conversation recently because Ellie had said to me, like, what do you think are what's making launches pop right now? And I said to her, actually, I think it's the offer. Like, I just think that offer matters more than it ever did, which like sounds so dumb because obviously the offer matters, but I feel like there was a time where like if you put on like a great launch, like even if you hadn't really perfected your offer, was probably going to go pretty well. And I think that's changed a lot. Like I think excellence in your offer is really, really important, which is good. Like I think that's a great thing for our industry, but I also think it is a shift. Like I feel like, those days of like someone throws out a new offer every single day and we pretend like there's value and goodness in that is like not it anymore.
Yep. I completely agree with that. I think that it's really exciting that we're in this time where we're marketing to people who are really discerning
Yeah,
and
totally.
who are less kind of wowed by the jazz hands of the online space and going, okay, I know that it's my role and responsibility to look behind the marketing
Yep.
into the substance of the offer. And so,
Yep.
for those of you that are here live or on the replay, you know that your offer has come from substance. You've created something substantial. You wouldn't be in this group otherwise. And so I really encourage you to play with and think about like, what is that substance that I can really put front and center, whether it's your case studies, your testimonials, your, like components of the offer that give them the best possible solution for them, because that's the thing that's going to excite people most right now.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's just a trust thing too, right? Like it's like I think we want to trust that like what we're spending money on is actually going to deliver because I think there's been so much of non-delivery in in the space. So it's not like a personal thing, it's not like someone thinks like your offer isn't good enough. I think it's just that like when you've had enough experiences or heard enough experiences, like you're gonna be a more discerning buyer. It's just that simple. And so you have to find ways to build trust that aren't just being good at marketing, that are beyond that are about like whatever, proven track records or social proof or any of those things that, require an excellent offer to have, and I think that that's can feel overwhelming to people or even scary, but I just think it's like anyone that was building a business without that, like there was always going to come a reckoning. There was always going to come a time like that. It really shouldn't be that overwhelming or scary. Like the baseline of like, we need to have great offers is like business 101. Like that's actually not a problem. I just think our industry got really crazy for a little while where that wasn't as much of a thing as it needed to be. And obviously the market always corrects itself. And I think that's what we're seeing, you know?
I think also just, a thought loop that came up as you were speaking there is we also have been in this really fast-paced time where it's like, get online, get the offers out, make money.
Yeah.
And because we've been sold the dream so quickly, there's been this real like haste around get it out there, make the money, start marketing it. And so I think we have really lost quality in that process. And what's really interesting is that people who came into this world or people who have business acumen that goes beyond the online space have always gone, well, we know that we need to prioritize something
Right.
that's quality, that's built to last, that's something that's really substantial. And I think, again, if we have that conversation that you've been talking about a lot, Lace, of there's like how are people going that kind of came into this quickly and and like started this quickly and maybe didn't build those foundations. It's like we need to go back to that and we need to look at like, did we build the house in the right way?
Yeah.
If we didn't, we've got a really great opportunity to do that, because when you build something quality that lasts and you prioritize that, that's actually how you're going to build the most sustainable business.
Totally. Okay, wait, before I forget, because I forgot to say this, we always do a giveaway for live. So today we're going to do the $100 gift card. So just wanted to say that if y'all comment, any comment counts, but we just always do it to say thank you for listening to me talk for what is often a very long period of time. So thanks. But any comment applies, like even hello works. Okay, so yes, totally agree. And I also think that I think we've even lost sight of what that means, I guess is how I would say that, like I think that in that just get it out there, just get it up. I don't know that like many people even know what it means to have a great offer. So I feel like that's something we can talk about too, because I feel like we can say that, but it's like, what does that mean? Does that mean it's so much information? Does that mean it's not very much information? It's really digestible. Does that mean it looks this way or that way? So I feel like we can talk about that too. And maybe we can talk about that as applies to different business models and offers, because I think that can get confusing too, especially when we've seen like the wild, wild west out there. Like for some people, they might be like, well, compared to what I've seen, a good offer just means like, I'm not, talking out my ass for an hour, but like, there's obviously more to it than that, but I don't think it's as complicated as it could seem when we're just kind of vaguely saying that either.
Completely agree with that. Yeah. Do you want me to riff on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, maybe just start with like, maybe we could talk about like, what does a great offer in terms of high ticket look like? What does a great offer in terms of like course look like? What does a great offer in terms of like membership look like? We can just like circle around those. You don't have to like riff on all of those. Just start with high ticket. But
Totally. Well,
Hi,
maybe it's
Michelle, Laura, and Thad would love to hear that. Okay, amazing. Good. Let us know if you have any specific questions as we go, but we'll start diving into that.
perfect. Okay, so I feel like I should preface this by saying my biggest recommendation, I literally wrote this on my Facebook page last night, is that if you don't have a solid high ticket offer in 2024, prioritize that. Like that is my personal recommendation.
I
I
agree
also
so
want to
much.
say, right, like I just really want to say as well that like every business model works if you work it. I really believe that to be true. Obviously, Lacey, you preach one-to-one, I preach masterminds, but we both have clients that have all different types of business models. We're never teaching like, just because we do it this way, you need to do it this way. However, if like high ticket is by far the easiest way to make money in 2024.
I think like something that I can share on that feels really important is technically I have both. I have a super high ticket one-on-one in a lit up life. And I also have Dateable, which is the only product we have there is like a $997 offer. We also have like a $97 product. And then we recently did like those 3 done for you audits that I've had talked about in here. But like basically I have a business that has one 997 offer, and that's what we make all of our money off of there. And what I can tell you for sure is that if that was my full-time business, the first thing I would do is add a high ticket offer. That's even why we tested that. Like it works for us to sell a 997 course, and it works for us to make six figures that way in what we're doing. But if I really wanted to take Dateable further right now, I would add a high ticket offer, and then I would use that money to add more team. That's not what we want right now, and it's not our desire. But like if that was my full-time business, for sure, hands down, that's the first thing I would do.
I just think that is such valuable information
Yep.
that you there. Like, I just feel like if everyone listening, they would be like, that is gold. I so agree with that. So something that I literally wrote yesterday on my Facebook page was, you know, like big picture wise, if we go really macro, which you and I love to do, is 2020, we had this influx of both coaches and clients coming into the space, you know, online business professionals coming in and clients. The industry got big. There was a lot happening. It was all very exciting. Fast forward to 2024, and right now we are seeing, you know, interesting economic times all over the world. We're starting to see a lot of people leaving the space because people more discerning. Add to that, a lot of things have happened within the space that are related to trust during this time. I think what we're about to see is a lot of people who don't necessarily have the substance. Again, it's none of you listening because you wouldn't be here following Lace. You know, anyone who's in that category leaving the market, and things are going to stabilize. And I think, I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Lace, but I think we're going to see stabilization probably later this year or start of next year. And I think that's going to be a really interesting thing, because what we're experiencing in the interim is rising ad costs that have never been higher. We're experiencing obviously a lot of competition and saturation right now. But again, we're experiencing a lot of discernment. And so because of that discernment, that's where we really get to stand out. And so I really wanted to preface it by saying that, because of that, my biggest recommendation to my clients when it comes to creating these, you know, incredible offers that we're talking about is to look at, well, what is it that's really unique about my skill set, my framework, my experience and expertise? And what is it that my ideal client most wants? Like, what is the true problem that they want solved? And when you combine both of those things and you package that into something that is going to be a killer offer. So it's not about going, what are all the features, or how can I jam pack this, or how can I overcook it? As you say, it's not as complicated as that. It's going back to basics and going, well, what are the things that I'm really great at? Instead of looking out here at what everyone else is doing and seeing who's selling out and how I can like copy or emulate those people. It's like, let's go micro and look at where we're really good, where we're creating something amazing, what our ideal clients want, and then create something based on that. So that would be the first thing that I would do if I was creating an offer. I feel
I
like
love that. I have so many thoughts, and I also want to read comments. The one thing I want to add there is like, I think you're mostly, well, I want to talk about the stabilization thing. I also want to talk about what
your thoughts on this.
Steph said. She said, yes, high ticket's the way to go, but the lure is there sometimes to go low ticket when high ticket doesn't sell enough to meet revenue targets. That's what I find clients leaning toward when things are slow. I totally agree. I think it's the grass is always greener to a certain extent, right? Like you're like, oh, people are saying they can't pay this, they'll pay this. But I think the truth is like, it's just as hard to sell a 10K offer as it is to sell a 1K offer 9 times out of 10. So, but I agree with you, Steph. But so in terms of the stabilization, I mean, what I will say is a couple of things. One is I really think it vastly depends on what happens with TikTok. Like I think we don't realize how impactful what happens with TikTok is going to be. If that gets banned in the US, I think it's going to be fucking nuts. I think ads costs are going to skyrocket. I think it's going to be really, really different. I think, you know, the market is going to get flooded with like people from TikTok all on Instagram. Our reach is going to go down. Like, I think there could be a lot there. I don't necessarily think that will or won't happen. I mean, that's not my expertise. Let's just say that. But I do know that if it does, that I think could really create some issue. On the other hand, though, I will say, I actually think we're already starting to see some of that. I have several clients who are currently in or were just in open cart. And I can think of like 4 that are having best launch ever. So I don't think it's impossible right now, but I will say we did a lot of work to get them there, to tweak the offer, to get them in the right place, all that kind of stuff. And so I think we're getting there, but I do think like, yeah, certain things can throw that, but that's why, like, again, it's like, to me right now, I would have high ticket because if the TikTok thing does happen, the market gets more saturated. Like, how many fucking accounts are out there right now battling it out with the MRR thing, right? That's just gonna exponentially explode. Like, I'd rather be like high ticket with a handful of people than, like trying to sell. And listen, again, I have a business where we kind of are doing that. So like, it's not like it doesn't work. It obviously works for us in the way it works for us, but like to guard against that, like I would be testing other things.
Definitely. And I also just want to add personal experience to what we're talking about here. So right now I'm in a course launch that's going incredibly well and have just been running ads for the last couple of months that have gone really well. And to Lacey's point there, like it has been because, we've been looking at like creating a really exceptional offer, and we've really stayed on it and been tenacious the whole way of like, what do we need to tweak and change here? What messaging's landing? What's not landing? I've looked at like what my ideal clients need most right now so that I can create bonuses around that. And so, there's a level of let's make this exceptional that just comes from a deeper level of listening.
Yes, I think that's so true. Lauren was saying that she's a copywriter and she's seeing issues with her clients because their launch numbers are down, which I actually think, Lauren, is super normal. I think that's happening across the industry, but I really do think tides are turning there. And I actually think that that's when your business pops more because people are realizing, oh, we have to be better at explaining this offer. We have to be better at communicating the value. We have to be better at all of these things if we want our numbers to go back up. Like, we can't just keep doing what we've always done and assuming it's going to work, because I think that that's not the case anymore. Derica said, I spend as much time marketing my DIY service as I do my done for you service. Yes, bingo, exactly that. Such a pain in the ass, but so true.
What's that quote? Where it's like $500 offer? Someone's going to be like, okay, but how does this like feed my family for a year? And what are you going to do to change my entire life? And it's like $50,000 offer. And it's like, done, sold, money's in your account.
Yeah, totally. It's so weird how that is.
Yeah.
Steph said she's loving your course launch. And Lauren said, yay, Tide's turning 100% heavy copy on USP. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's like, again, it's like back to expertise or, really bringing that kind of excellence, I think, where it's like not enough to just randomly write your copy. It's like, we want expertise on that. So I think that that really will be such a thing, again, especially if we're thinking about like what changes are coming in the market and stuff like that. Like, you better have damn good copy to explain that, right? In fact, that's like Ellie in this launch, that's something we've been talking about a lot. We're like, okay, how do we improve the copy by just a few clicks? How do we communicate this just a little bit better? How do we say this result in a more compelling way? Like, those little things make such a difference.
Yes. I'm actually scripting a podcast today called The 1% Tweaks from inspiration from this launch, because it's true. And again, I feel like this is just what I'm about to say is such a like nugget that we can hold on to right now, which is when things are feeling tricky, our brain tells us that we should throw everything out and start fresh, or overhaul things, scrap things, go big, when actually the biggest changes and up levels come from the 1% tweaks. And so if you spend more time in those 1% tweaks, you're going to see the better results day in, day out, whether you're in a launch, whether you're looking at how you can, optimize your business more or whatever it is. Like, that's the thing that's going to support you most.
It's so true. Every client that I mentioned that's having their best launch yet, none of them is it their first launch. All of them are on an iteration of it where we're doing stuff like that. And that's what makes a difference. But most people just won't stay in it that long.
So true.
Stephanie said, funny enough, I would love to have a course, but I feel like people want more touch points and offers and would prefer a live group program instead. I totally see how people want courses, but weirdly feel like my audience wouldn't want it, or not sure if I can fill it maybe. So I'm jumping into a live run of my next group program first, then transition to a course with Q&A. I mean, I do personally think that people love touch points, but I also think like especially in this climate of like wanting trust and wanting to know it'll pay off for them. But I also think it is a bit about how you communicate that. And what that looks like. I mean, Ellie, you can speak to this with the mastermind model right now, right? But I think that I guess I just want to say, like, you're not wrong that the market wants more of you. Every fucking time we survey any of, I'm sure you don't mind me saying this, but I guess I'm saying it already. Every time we survey any of Ellie's mastermind people, course people, everybody always wants more Ellie. Like, that's never not the feedback. It's just that it's not bad feedback. Like, it just doesn't mean we always have to act on that. But like, they're there because they love her and they want to learn from her. Like, they always want more. And so I think that can be confusing market research sometimes, where you can feel the pressure. And I know you did at one point, Ellie, for sure, felt like I have to give more. So maybe you could speak to that a little bit.
Definitely. I think that it's such a duality of business ownership, especially if you're a coach. We inherently create a business where it's based on service and being needed. And then we create this business that we want to scale, and we're like, oh, I'm so needed and I've created that. Like, what do I do here? So what I find is that it's about being really smart about where they want you most, or like the ways in which they want you most, so that you can really leverage that. So for example, and Steph, you know this obviously, as a student in the mastermind model, we have it set up so that we've got bonus calls with myself primarily, and also my OBM Niv. And that works really well because it's like 4 calls where, you can jump on with us and you can have a conversation that really is specific to your business. So you get that bespoke, personalized support around your business. And then you also can ask us questions in Kajabi, and those touch points I know are the things that are necessary and required to get the results in that program. So that is obviously something that is essentially more course structure, but those touch points are the thing where it's like, you're never going to be left scrambling. Like, you can always reach out and get support if you need it. And so a question to ask there would be, how can I create safety for the person buying the experience, that they're never going to be left like trying to communicate with someone and not getting any support at all? Like, how can I make them feel really held in that experience? And sometimes it's also more about how you communicate in the launch as well. Yeah. So we just ran an open house yesterday where I sat on Zoom, and again, Steph, you saw this, and I literally took people through Kajabi. People could have screenshotted my entire course. Like, I literally took people through every single part of the program to be like, this is the exact thing that you're getting. Like, take a look. If you're interested, you're going to see inside everything here. And creating more of that safety and transparency exactly is something that I think really supports people too.
I think everything you said is spot on. The one other thing I would add is just asking yourself, like, what is required for them to be able to use this content? And like, it's not you hand-holding them every step of the way, but like for Dateable, like what we know is required is for them to have a touch point to reach out with tech issues. So like, that's just a requirement of our course. Like, we just have to have someone on our team that can be a touch point for that, because that is like basically a requirement to be able to make your way through this course. And so that's obviously going to look different for everybody, but for like us, it's so clear that that's a must. And so it's like, we're really delivering on that because it's what really we know will create that end result that's good for them and good for us, right? But of course, everyone would want us to personally look at their dashboards, personally look at their funnel, do all of this stuff. Like, obviously, there is always a line to be drawn there, but I do think that like having to be responsible about what actually is necessary for the implementation, just like Ellie is saying in Mastermind Model, is what we're talking about when we're saying like excellence in your offers, trust building, transparency, like really making them feel like there is a way to get what you need here. Like for us at Dateable, our biggest objection is always like, what if I get stuck? What if I don't know how to do this? The tech feels overwhelming, blah, blah, blah. Like, our offer has an answer to that. And that's why it's easier to sell. We're like, oh, just email us anytime. We got you. And people are like, Oh,
what?
really?
Yeah,
We're like, yeah. And
because
like, then
most
it's
bosses
easy to
wouldn't.
sell, right?
And that's such a great example of a really great offer
Yep.
because you're just making it so easy as a yes. And so that's like another really great question to ask yourself is how can I support somebody's brain journey so that
Yep.
it's just such an easy yes for them when they're considering purchasing this offer?
And I think this is something too, like I just had a client do a webinar launch and we had a 48-hour bonus that we basically were just like, what's the most insane bonus we could reasonably offer without like completely eating our profit margin or killing her. But we tried to almost like go crazy. Like, what if all the offers are on the table? What if every option's there? What would be an insane thing to do? And then we did it and she had her best launch yet. And so I think that like obviously there's risk and vulnerability and being like, I'm gonna do this insane thing on the bet that it will work. But I think like when you gamble like that in terms of like high quality, high value, giving them exactly what they kind of would even be scared to ask you for, I think that's where it goes well. Like so with Dateable, I feel like that you can email our team anytime and ask us a tech issue. We'll even log into your ship for you if we need to, whatever. That's like the unreasonable ask that they probably wouldn't quite ask. But if
Yep.
we give it, it like really changes the game. So I think that's like a fun way to think about it too.
Definitely. Yeah. And that comes back to surprising and delighting in so many ways. So,
Yeah.
for example, on the one-to-one calls that I do for the mastermind model, I'm sure people think that they are just going to come on and it's a really straight Q&A where it's just like, ask one question, be really smart about this. But I sit on that call for sometimes a few hours and I
Mhm.
will add in a little bit of personalized coaching so that we can really get to the heart of the answer for you. And so people come off those calls and they're like, oh, wow, I didn't expect that level of support. And that's so great because it takes 30 more minutes of my time. And it's just a way for me to like absolutely surprise and delight people.
I feel like what Steph said next is so relevant to something else I was going to point out about like excellence and
Mm,
even the mastermind model. But she said she's taken a few courses that she found valuable, but the support was via a
yeah.
Facebook group, which is like often like time consuming, right? And so
Yes.
she felt like she would need to do the same, but this is the first course that she's taken without support in a Facebook group, but it doesn't feel like it's lacking in support. And what I think is really important to say about that when we're talking about like excellence in offers and what we're recommending, this is something I've been focused on a lot with clients. And I think you nail with the mastermind model, Ellie, is like you don't overpromise in terms of all the things you're going to help them with. And so you can deliver really strategic, targeted support on these calls because you're not like, I'll help you figure out the entirety of your marketing plan and all of your content, and then what you're going to include in your mastermind, and what your message is going to be, and how you're going to re-enroll people, and like make it so big that it's basically fucking impossible to do that with people. Like what I see performing so well right now is when we go so like clear and so targeted, because that's how people are going to feel the value too. Like at Dateable, like our promise is we're going to help you build 4 data dashboards. There's more to it technically, but like that's our promise. And I know for a fact that we can deliver on that 100% of the time with what we have in place. And but we could take that so much further. We could be like, it'll change like everything about your business and we'll look at every piece of your funnel and technically that's true. If you come to the calls, we'll do all that. But we don't lead with that because it does get overwhelming. And then it's like the expectation is so big that it's actually really hard to like meet people's desire there or have them have a great experience. And so I think when you have these very specific promises that are big promises, but still very targeted and manageable, is when you're going to have the best result. It's why you have such great testimonials because people aren't like, well, yeah, I got this, but not this, or like, I wish I had more of it because you didn't overpromise.
It's so true. I've had multiple people in this last week who are like, people should just buy the mastermind model for any offer that they have because you literally take us through the process of offer creation, sales, and delivery. And I'm like, I agree, but I'm not going to talk about it in that way
Yes.
because it's for masterminds. And,
Yes.
so that again just acts as this like beautiful surprise and delight for people when it's like, no, because I'm talking about it for mastermind means that, yeah, that's what I do. Exactly. It's like perfect. People come in and they literally go, oh my gosh, I can see how I can literally upgrade my entire business model here. And I'm like,
Yep.
awesome. That's really cool.
But if you had the course that was like titled upgrade your business model or upgrade your entire business model, all of a sudden there's like this interesting dynamic that gets placed on it.
Yep.
Right. And so I think that that's really helpful for people to see, where it's like when we're talking about like what offers are we recommending, what's selling, a lot of it is about the specifics and like the really, really targeted promise. It's not that you can't include other stuff in it, but I think that like our industry is so done with overpromise, underdeliver,
Yep.
or promise to give them every single step of building every part of their business in a fucking $297 course or whatever. Like, no, even your other stuff that you do, Ellie, like I'm thinking about like launch files at 297 or something like that, right? It's so specific, and that's why you get such good feedback and why it performs well. And you build it with that in mind. You're not like, oh yeah, but Lace, do you think I should put something about whatever, like how to run sales calls for this type of da da da, and it like, no, right?
Yeah,
Like you
I
just
know what it
don't
is.
like go off the chart and trying to stuff it with value. You're like, the value is getting you to this result, right?
Yeah. And it's that clarity and discernment in the messaging that works. And
Yep.
so, as you say, like coming back to offers that work, you know, I think it would be remiss of us not to like talk about messaging, because ultimately it's like you're speaking to messaging there, right? Of the more clear you are on the problem that you're solving, like never have I ever, never have I ever
Let's play never have I
done,
ever. Yeah.
done, never have I ever, business edition, never have I ever done more market research with clients than right
Yep.
now. Never have I ever done more like framework creation with clients than right now.
So this
Like,
is your next reel, is what I'm hearing.
true.
Never have I
business edition.
ever. Coach
You know,
edition, yes.
like those things. And you know, there's a big piece around market research in, you know, when we're creating
Yeah.
masterminds. Like, and my clients keep saying, I had a client say to me yesterday, she was like, when you do this market research, it just makes everything easier. And so again, it's like, come back to all of this because you're going to get all those answers from your data.
Yes. Stephanie said there is truth and beauty in keeping the marketing around the mastermind model so niche. And although the benefit is so much more than that, just so much more than just creating and selling your mastermind. Totally.
Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah. And Lauren said the market research will literally write the copy. It's so true. She didn't say literally. I think I added that in there. We'll write the copy. Yes. 70 said that's where I get tripped up. Sometimes I want my offers to sound all encompassing, one-stop shop, but people really want offers that are specific to their issues or needs, is what I'm hearing. I think if you're trying to provide one-stop shop, it's high ticket. I think it's really very difficult to provide one-stop shop in more of a course format. And I think that that's what doesn't work in our industry a lot, is that people try to promise one-stop shop in a course and people are routinely disappointed. Where like with mastermind model, Ellie's like, I'm not your one-stop shop at all. I'm going to help you with this specific, oh my God. Specific thing.
Best word.
And it goes well because of that. So I think like it's not like one-stop shop marketing is bad necessarily, but I think that trying to do that not at quite a high ticket price point is very, very hard right now.
Yeah, 100%. Comes back to that discernment piece. And, you know, for a long time there, people in the online space were marketing to us as though we were dummies, right? And now it's like we're all very discerning, you know, where we see so much content on any given day. We can smell BS. We know what authenticity looks like. And I think that, you know, when you're selling anything, keeping in mind who your ideal client is and knowing that they are discerning individuals will support you so much.
It's so true. And also just like no, like being willing to acknowledge that they change and their wants and needs change. So like Ellie was saying at the beginning of this, she's been in business for 6 years at this point, and she's doing market research now. Like that's
Yes.
right. That's so important to say that we have to keep doing that. We have to keep evolving with
Yep.
that, because what someone wanted 6 years ago versus what language they would use around that now, or what the market wants or needs now, is so vastly different. And I
Yep.
think that that's really important to say too, because I was having this conversation with one of my clients today. She was so irritated at me. I love her with my whole heart, but she was like, "You are about to spiral me." And I was like, "It's true. We got to talk about this." But she has like an amazing business. She's a multiple million-dollar business owner. She's been at this thing for a while. And the way she typically like names a thing or frames a thing is just not performing as it used to. It's like, it's things have changed. And I was teasing her of like 2021 called. They want their they want their name back. Um and she's a great sport and is always doing market research and evolving too. But I think there is such a way where we forget that like a great offer is created constantly. It's not something you create once, it's something you create all the time. And that's why you have to be pretty invested in the offer.
Yep.
Because you're constantly updating, iterating, doing market research, again, realizing that what worked 2 years ago and gave you your best launch yet probably isn't what's going to be your best launch yet today. Not that the foundation's not there, but I do think that like top level stuff changes.
And so off the back of that, it's like, how sold are you on your offer? I had a client
Amen.
recently, she did 130K launch, and I said to her at the end, like you did such a great job of this. Like, what do you think it was? And she kind of talked through some of the mechanics. And I said to her, I was like, I actually really believe that it's because you were so, so sold on your
Yeah,
offer.
yeah.
And that just impacted every single step that you took along the way here. Like, I watched her so connected to it and just believe so deeply that it was the solution. And seeing her come from that place was pure magic, because when you are so sold on your offer, when you are so excited about your offer, the energy that pours from that place, you will naturally be so excited to show up and talk about it. You're going to be such an attractor to your ideal clients, because you're going to believe that it is the thing for them. It will impact your entire sales process. It'll impact how you deliver. Like, being so sold on it. So maybe for you right now, that energy, exactly. It's like, what do you need to do to connect to that? And so maybe the first piece is coming back to your offers in your suite right now and going, am I 110% sold on every single one of these offers? How connected do I feel to them? And what do I need as well to be like, this is the best thing and this is why you need it? Because it starts there, and that energy, that feeling that your people are going to have when you communicate from that place, like that is what is going to sell your offers.
It's so true. I'm gonna say like a really like annoying thing that I feel like we're not supposed to say. But like I have never ever found it challenging to sell or talk about one-on-one. I've honestly never been challenged by that, because I just like love it and believe in it so much. So when someone will be like, "Yeah, but how do you like sell one-on-one?" I'm like, I mean, I can tell you what I say, I can tell you how I talk about it, but like at the end of the day, like I think it's just really obvious that like I am such like that is a hill I'll die on. I'm so passionate about that. And so I think that it's not like I've never had to tweak my messaging, but it's honestly never felt that hard. And that's the singular reason why.
I'd relate.
Steph said that's an eye opener, constant market research to keep evolving and upgrading the offer. Totally. Let's see. Yeah, Lauren said, "Oop, how sold are you on your offer?" Yeah. Jerica said she just jumped back in after taking a long break. I definitely need to keep working on my messaging and positioning. Totally. I mean, I think we're all just doing that literally constantly, right?
Yes,
Constantly.
very true.
I can say that there's been offers that my energy was 110% behind. I just felt that it needed to be created and sold. Yeah. That's like when it's a thing where you're like, even if this doesn't sell, like I want this out there. I want this like in the world. I believe in this so much. Or like that's how I feel about Dateable. Like it's really been a process of getting people excited about and invested in data. And I think it will continue to be like that. Is like I think it's super sexy, right? And I think everyone who like gets into it does. But on the front end, that is like the least sexy sell. But I don't give a fuck because like I'm like, I'll talk about this for years if I have to, whatever. Like y'all are gonna get on board at some point because this is the thing. And I think that that energy just translates.
Yeah, it's like you've decided that that's your challenge and you're so here for it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's another great point with this is like the more sold you are on your offer, when objections come up from people or they present to you all the reasons why they believe that it's not for them or maybe not great or whatever, you're going to be able to maintain your center. And that's so important, especially in a launch, because you're going to have a really high volume of people be like, oh, but does it include this? Or what about this? Or, and you might think you've communicated that so, so well. And so like being able to really maintain your center is so, so key. And again, it comes back to just like knowing that your offer is the thing from that market research, from creating something incredible. I have an entire module on creation of your mastermind in the mastermind model. And that's the module that people are like, I've gone and used this for absolutely everything because it is so key. And I think that people do that module and they almost completely change the way that they think about their business because they're like, oh, I see how this is the thing. And you and I had a really interesting conversation recently, Lace, where we were talking about how, the biggest challenge that I was told from clients or from people coming into my pre-launch for this launch was that they were struggling to generate leads and traffic for their masterminds. And you were saying to me that from a Dateable perspective, you were finding that that actually wasn't the problem that you saw a lot of the time in audits. And I find as well that if you have a really great offer, that usually mitigates that problem. And so again, it's just like this offer work is so the thing.
Yep. It's so true. It's like, I think people think that they will solve a not great offer with more traffic, and that never fucking works. Like ever. I could go on and on about that for days and I won't, but that just does not work. Like if you're not locked in on your offer and that's not great, don't send more fucking traffic to it. That's not going to solve your problem at all. Right. What was I going to say? There was something that you said that I really wanted to touch on there for a second.
Traffic, leads, not the thing, offers being the thing.
It's gone.
You were, the convo we had was that it was more about other things within your funnel that were the things. Maybe you're going to talk about that.
I think what I was going to say there is like, at the very least, what I really find helpful, like when I'm doing like an audit or something like that with a client, is like, if you have a proven offer, if you've had people get results from it, if you have testimonials to back that up, I'm like, great, let's iterate your funnel all day long. But if I go in to do something like that and it's like, oh, we don't have a lot of that yet, I'm like, what are we doing then? Like, let's not look at all this other stuff. Let's look at nailing this one thing.
Yeah.
And I think that when you really nail that one thing, like obviously things get a lot easier from there. But yeah, I think that it's just such a fallacy that like this is the part that you can skip over. Like this is not the part to skip over. And it's also not the part to rest on your laurels about either. I think really like that should be the constant like thread in your business kind of, of like, is my offer performing like at an excellent level? And it doesn't mean you have to like go above and beyond. And it doesn't mean that you're doing things that like stretch your boundaries or anything like that. But I think it does mean like you actually fucking care about that and you're willing to look at it and study it and pay attention to it and keep getting better at it. And to me, that's when I feel most safe in my business. Like I feel most safe when I'm like, I just know I have an offer that people are always going to want to buy. Like,
Yep. Agreed.
that's it. That's like safety 101. Right?
Completely agree with that.
Yep.
Yeah. Hence the high ticket.
Somebody said that's similar to advice I heard years ago for bloggers starting niche websites. Be sure that the topic or theme is something you will never get tired of writing about. It's the same thing for your offer. Totally. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. Let me see. Did we not tell them anything that we told them we would tell them?
We really went on one just then.
Yeah, no, I think that was really kind of it. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
I
think
feel like
there's
we covered the
one
gist.
thing that's like working or not working, though. Ellie and I are definitely in agreement that like high ticket right now is really, really smart play, I think. But I think having a way to look at what you're building, create excellence in it, that kind of thing. Like oh, I know what I was gonna say. This is what I was gonna say. So when Ellie first built her mastermind, this is really important, I think. Ellie had never been in a mastermind before.
Never.
And I remember you coming to a coaching call and being like, do I need to? Like, should I not? Like, is this out of integrity? Like, should I not be building one unless I've been in one? And I was like, this is the magic, is because you're not like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be like. You're going to be able to come from this place of like, what do my people need and how do I create it? And I think that's why you've had so much success with your own masterminds. I don't even mean the course, I mean with your own masterminds, because you built it from this place of like, if I could just give them what they really needed to be successful, here's what it would look like. It wasn't like, in a mastermind, I'm supposed to da, 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 da. And I feel like that's why you're such a great person to teach this now, because you really built it from that place, not like, this is what we do. You were like, if I could do anything, what would I do? And here's what it would look like. And I think that's important to say, because I feel like so few people actually come at offer creation from that stance.
And thank you for sharing that, because that's exactly how I teach offer creation. And the way I talk about it is really flipping it on its head and looking at it from this micro lens that people often don't. And I'm constantly in awe of the results that we get. I had clients in a partnership last round who did that and then went on to have a 45K launch. I had another client who had a 250K launch from 2 masterminds who did that. Like, that process is the thing that works so well. I really love what Stephanie's asked here.
Yes, I copied them in case they go away. But Stephanie said, okay, let me throw out something else. One school of thought is to bring in the traffic to an offer and then create it on the back end. But based on where you're going with these best practices, how does that fit? Can you talk about and get behind something that's not fully created yet? I think, I mean, from what I was talking about of like, don't massively iterate your funnel if you don't have a strong offer. I don't mean you don't need any traffic. Like, obviously you need enough traffic to get some people through it, experiencing it and selling it. But I just don't think then continuing to fill it with traffic is typically the answer until you've done that iteration. So like, yes, to be clear, and I think that's an important distinction, Stephanie, is like, you do need some traffic on the front end initially. But then your follow-up question was like, have we ever conceptualized a program but not fully created it and then sold it? And how do you get your energy behind it if it's not fully created? Which I feel like you could just answer that when on the mastermind that we were just talking about.
Okay, yeah. So I can actually answer that with like every single program I've ever created, I have not gone through the process of stepping out what it looks like in terms of delivery before I've sold it in, Stephanie. So if we're talking courses, every course I've sold for the first time, I've not created it. But what I have done is I have conceptualized the whole thing. So I know the messaging, I know what the offer includes. I know, and that's key. That's really key. So best practice is knowing exactly what your offer includes, having the legal documentation around that and communicating that. And a lot of people don't do that. And that is not
And
best
that's where
practice.
it gets messy. Yeah.
That's where it gets messy. That's where people get really disappointed. And so you use that word conceptualized. And I think that's such a key word here, is like, conceptualize the thing start to end, know what it looks like. You don't have to create it. My husband thinks that I'm absolutely crazy when I remember the first course I sold like 7-8 years ago, shine on social media without selling your soul. And I had 60 people come through. I had a list of 300 people, 60 people come through, and I hadn't created any of the content. And my husband was like, is this legal? I'm like, are we allowed to do
He's
this?
like, what
He
are
was
you doing?
so stressed. Yeah, he's like, is
Yeah.
that what you make it? And I was like, because it's all up here. I know exactly what it is, and all I've got to do is write the thing now. So I knew exactly what it was. And so yeah, for some people that really stresses them out, and that's okay. Like, you don't have to do that. Really worked for me. But conceptualize the thing, know what's included, because you are going to have people sign terms and conditions as well, and you want to know exactly what that is.
Fun. I love that. Okay. I know you have another
Yeah, I could go to another live in like 7
live to
minutes.
get to. But obviously just tell us a little bit about Mastermind Model and then we'll let you jump.
Thank you for having me here. I've loved this
Of course.
conversation so much. I feel like we just went like across all the things. So I hope it was really, really useful for everyone. So yeah, so we've talked about this program a whole bunch here, but basically, as Lacey mentioned, I started running masterminds 4 years ago, and my business model turned into a mastermind model of business. Somewhat by accident. I started one, it sold out. I, had people who then were like, what's my next step? And created this entire business off masterminds. I've sold out every mastermind I've ever created. I've built a 7-figure business that I'm really proud of. My retention rates are, my last mastermind was 93%. And obviously that's just my business, but the processes that I teach and have created and culminated over the last 4 years, when I teach them to my clients who also choose to create masterminds, and my students, they get, the same type of results. So I'm really proud of it. I believe so deeply in the results that you can support your clients to create through masterminds. And on a beach early last year, I realized that no one was really teaching this, and I wondered why. And I realized that, of course, it needed to be me. So I created this program, the Mastermind Model. We've had over 150 students come through so far with some really exceptional results. So please don't take my word for it. Go and check out the sales page. I'll drop it below maybe as soon as we jump off this
Perfect.
conversation. I would love to have you in it. We actually close early bird today. So very important to let you know that it is the program to create, sell, and deliver your mastermind. It's incredibly comprehensive in terms of having like an A to Z process that you can follow. You get that additional support from me that you need. It's incredible. I'm really proud of it. Check out the sales page. Stephanie is in it. Thank you for being here. It's like I paid you, but I didn't. I actually and so come on over and check it out. If you have any questions, send me a PM or a DM. I'm so happy to answer anything, because Early Bird will be closing in 10 hours, and I would love to have you in if you are considering starting or you're scaling a mastermind or a high-level group program right now.
Love it. I just love what you've done with it and believe in it so much. And I feel like more programs like this are actually what our industry needs, more focus on like the excellence of offer creation and delivery, or like what our industry needs. I'm just like so happy you have this out there. So thanks for being here. We'll let you go. I love you and I appreciate you so much.
I love you. Thank you for all the roles you play in all of this. So good. So good to see you all here.
Bye, guys.
Have the best day and night. Bye.